What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one will break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to break down what's happening with the bank earnings, what data is going to be dropping in just a couple of minutes. Now, all of this data may affect Tesla moving forward. Now, before I break things down on all this information, talk about that big headlines affecting Tesla, what's going on with all this news, and how it's affecting Tesla's share price, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Tesla's currently down a little bit in the pre-market, trading kind of sideways so far, but there's always a possibility that later on during the day, Tesla could get some more buying pressure to push it up higher. So what levels should you be watching for as confirmation of Tesla's push to the upside, and what are levels are going to be very, very important? Well, let's first talk about the news affecting the markets first. Now, we have the bank earnings that just came out, and so far they've been a lot better than expected, or at least beating these expectations, which have been lowered to some degree to adjust the current economic climate. However, later on, we also have another catalyst at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, or New York time. We have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report, inflationary expectations, and the 5-year inflationary expectations all coming out. This is going to be very important for the markets to watch this data very carefully. And to add on to this, I just want to mention that JP Morgan has beaten analysts' expectations on higher rates, which is pretty good with better than expected bond trading. The news is also saying that the Dow futures have edged higher to end the solid week. Bank earnings are in focus. And right here, we're seeing news that Citigroup, they've beaten on earnings. They beat on EPS and revenue. So once again, that's helping Citigroup hold up nicely. BlackRock beat on adjusted EPS and revenue, but they did miss on long-term inflows just by a bit. Overall, it's still holding up nicely. And finally, JP Morgan Chase beat on EPS and revenue. Citi has beaten on EPS and revenue, and so has Wells Fargo. So the majority of the banks are beating on these expectations once again. And there's been a lot of talk about how the banks are in all this trouble and bad things are going to happen and this and that. And that's actually caused a lot of people to just fear what's about to come to the markets. But so far, you have to remember that the reason why the market's at these high levels is because so far in the economy, we haven't really seen a massive earnings decline. I'm sure you guys remember that Tesla did well during its last earnings report, at least on EPS and revenue. We also saw other companies do the same thing. Tesla's margins were at the best, and that's what many analysts were talking about today. But so far, earnings have been relatively strong. They still are pretty decent so far. And the market's holding up as a result of that. That's part of why the market's valued the way it is. And so far, we're not really getting a massive decline. Now, some news came out for Tesla. I'm going to just quickly go over this. The Malaysian Prime Minister is discussing a potential Tesla investment and talks about a gigafactory to be built over there. If that happens, that's going to be very bullish for Tesla. I can't wait to see if that does end up being released by the news. And there's been more news that came out about how Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory has once again welcomed bonus increases after the record deliveries. So that's once again good news for them. Congratulations to everyone over there working very hard. And last but not least, I just wanted to mention that there's news that came out that Tesla analysts are predicting a 6% beat on the Q2 EPS. It also tells investors to focus on 4 important things. And there has been talk about another decline in their potential margins moving forward. They also talked about how without regulatory credits, this could be lower than expected. There are some concerns about margins, but besides that, there's still a lot of optimism about Tesla potentially beating on EPS. So I really hope that that's what ends up happening. We're seeing a lot of new news coming out about how, there's a lot of talk about their margins being a worry, but there's also a lot of optimism about things which are very big, such as improved growth and then meeting deliveries expectations, which they're talking about right over here. So we're going to be watching this very carefully. So far, there's some more optimism approaching Tesla's earnings, but Tesla's a little bit red right now as there's been some talk about Tesla's margins not being the best. And the real question is, how will Tesla move? Well, honestly, guys, we're going to be watching this range right over here. Tesla's been range bound between this resistance around the very high 279s to 280. This is our resistance. And our support so far has been around 276. It's kind of range bound so far in the pre-market. However, if we get a lot of buying pressure, just hypothetically, because yesterday Tesla was trading sideways for some time for the first few hours before getting a lot of buying pressure. If that were to happen again, you're going to be watching 280 and then 282.84, then potentially 285 to be tested if that ends up breaking if we get some good news. So if it's really bullish, you want to see it break above 282.84, breakdown, we're going to see this thing fly all the way up to 285 sometime today. If Tesla just trades sideways in this range, then it's just going to be range bound. And if you are potentially bearish, because it is a Friday, there tends to be like sell-offs, manipulation, then you're going to be watching 277 as support, 276, 275.18. And if that fails, let's watch 274, then 272 as supports. What do I think is Tesla? What do I think Tesla's going to do? Excuse me. I think Tesla's going to likely try to push up as we open. That's what it tends to do typically. We tend to see this thing trying to push up and then slow down as time goes on. It's going to react to the inflationary data, the inflationary expectations data, basically from the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Surveys at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to see how that affects Tesla in the markets. Then we might see Tesla kind of hold up for some time and possibly try to push up later on and try to make its way up to about 280 or so. And if it breaks that, we could push up a lot higher, but we need confirmation first. All right, so that's what I'm going to be watching for today. One of the issues I see for the markets is Apple has been lagging behind quite a bit. Apple's actually down around 190, but it's looking kind of weak in the pre-market. And if Apple gets a pop, you're going to be watching resistance around 191. But if you notice anything, Apple's been kind of like tight recently. It's getting tighter and tighter, and it's not looking that strong. If Apple breaks down, you're going to be watching 188.47 and 187.5 as our supports. And as it's looking kind of weaker, it may slow down SPY and the QQQ. It may stop them from like rallying very, very hard. If we break 450.5, we have the potential to go up to 451. If that breaks, watch 452. If it breaks down, watch 450 as major support. That's going to be our very important level. If that breaks, watch 449.5 and potentially 449. What do I think SPY is going to do? Maybe pop near the open, slow down as time goes on. And then because it's a Friday, we either sell off near the very end of the day or we see the market just try to hold up. It's got to be one of those two. I'm not expecting SPY to push all the way up to like 453 unless something crazy happens, because Apple is lagging behind a bit. But just to be safe, always be open-minded and watch for confirmations. If we break 451, watch 452, then 452.69 as our major rejection area. It is looking more bullish than bearish as we have an accumulation, so there's a good chance we're going to pop near open, slow down as time goes on, just try to hold up for the majority of the day, but we'll see what happens near the end, as it is a Friday and there could be lots of manipulation. Last but not least, the triple Q is stuck between 379 and 380. We're likely going to be range bound. If we break 380, we're going to see this thing push up for 382 and then 384. If we fail to do so, we're just going to be stuck in this range between these levels. All right, so we're going to be watching this carefully. With that said, I just want to thank each and every one of you so much for listening. If it breaks down below 379, watch 378, then 377.5 as our support zone. But I don't really think it's going to break down that hard. It doesn't really have a big reason to. It may try to break 380, but Apple could be the thing slowing it down. So just watch that very carefully. But I just think it's going to be range bound for the majority of the day. And we'll see if we could try to break 380. If it breaks it, then yes, this thing will have more potential. But so far, it's looking like it's just going to be stuck for now. That's what I'm seeing for it. But until the next video comes, thank you all for listening. Get ready for the big data at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla and the markets to the moon as the long term is very bright. And peace out.